No one is allowed to demand from you your private medical history. You don't have to divulge your private matters to some shopkeeper. Now, most shopkeepers, I find, are on the side of their customer. But some shopkeepers are not. Some security guards at shops are enjoying the lockdown a little too much. They're enjoying being bullies a little too much. I can assure you that they have not read these mask bylaws and are unaware that the exemptions are an integral part of the law. I'm happy to announce today a website for people who are exempt from wearing masks, but have that exemption dishonored by a store. Let me tell you what I mean. In Canada, every mask bylaw has a built-in exemption. It's not a loophole, it's not a technicality. It is just as integral to the law as the banning part. Depending on the bylaw, there are different exemptions. For example, the age of the child. Some bylaws, a child 2 and under is exempt. Other places it's 5 and under. In every jurisdiction in Canada, there is a medical exemption. Every mask bylaw has a medical exemption. If you have trouble breathing, there is a common medical exemption for people who are traumatized by a mask. I'm not going to get into the graphic details, but I have spoken to a number of people who have been sexually assaulted and suffocated, and a mask is a traumatic PTSD type experience. That would be an example of a mask exemption. Every single mask bylaw in Canada has at least, 2, 3, 4 exemptions, but they all have the exemption for medical reasons. Not just that, but it is unlawful for a shopkeeper, or frankly anyone, to demand proof of your medical exemption. Did you know that? And if you're having trouble grokking that, imagine if someone came in a wheelchair and some shopkeeper said, "I think you're faking it. Stand up. Prove that you can't walk." It would be absurd. Imagine if someone came in with a seeing eye dog and a blind walking stick and you said, "Nah, I think you're faking. Prove you're blind, mister. We're going to give you a vision test." That would be outrageous. That's unacceptable. And by the way, it's a violation of your privacy. No one is allowed to demand from you your private medical history. You don't have to divulge your private matters to some shopkeeper. Now, most shopkeepers, I find, are on the side of their customer. But some shopkeepers are not. Some security guards at shops are enjoying the lockdown a little too much. They're enjoying being bullies a little too much. I can assure you that they have not read these mask bylaws and are unaware that the exemptions are an integral part of the law. But what do you do if you've been banned from a shop, from a store, from a bus, from a plane, because you have a mask exemption that was not honored? What can you do? You've been kicked out of a store. I'm not talking about getting a ticket where the police issue you a fine for violating a lockdown. I'm saying where you have been pushed out of a Costco or out of a drugstore or out of a Sobeys or out of a Safeway or whatever the store in your local community is. What do you do? Because the mask bylaws themselves do not have a help you out clause. They say to the shopkeeper, you must honor the exemptions. They say to the shopkeeper, you must not inquire as to the private medical details. But they don't have any penalty for if shops do that. So how do you fight back? Well, that's our answer today. Our lawyers have been working on a website that shows you in 14 different Canadian jurisdictions, all 10 provinces, all 3 territories, and a federal jurisdiction for things like airplanes, how to file a human rights complaint against a company, a staffer, an abusive person who doesn't honor your exemption. Because just as if they were to tell someone in a wheelchair, "We don't serve your kind. Get out of here, wheelchair boy." I know that's absurd. It would be absurd, shocking for someone to say that. But that's exactly what they say with masks. Just as it would be illegal and a contravention of the Human Rights Code to discriminate against a wheelchair-bound person on the grounds of medical disability, physical disability, it is just as illegal to discriminate against a person who has a mask exemption. So I want to take you now to a special website we have just set up today. I want to walk you through it. The first thing to know is that the website is UnMask.ca. And I think we'll add that to the home page there so people can remember it. Let me read it for you. Human rights complaint. Have you been denied service for not wearing a mask? Have you been kicked out of a store or humiliated by the mask police? We want to help you take a stand and fight back. I'll read some more. Every mask law in Canada has a list of exemptions. These exemptions are not technicalities or loopholes. They're an essential part of the law. And any store that refuses to comply with them is breaking the law. Kicking you out of a store for not wearing a mask is legally the same as kicking you out of a store for being in a wheelchair. It's discrimination. It's illegal. And in Canada, there are 14 different human rights commissions where you can sue stores for violating your rights, and all of them are free. I didn't mention that part. You don't need a lawyer, and you don't have to pay to file a complaint. In fact, some human rights commissions even have staff lawyers to help you file a complaint. We want to help you take a stand to protect your rights. Below are the links to every human rights commission in Canada, 14 of them, with instructions on how to file a mask exemption complaint. We've also filled out a sample complaint for each jurisdiction, showing you how to do it. So fight for your rights. Please click your jurisdiction below for more information. And if you can, please donate to help us pay the legal fees involved with setting up this website. So let's start with Ontario, just because that's where we are, and that's the largest province. So you click on Ontario there. Here's an example complaint. And then we have the words. Here's how to, I have asthma, and I use an inhaler, I can't wear a mask, etc. Here's how to file the complaint. You can file your complaint application at the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. The tribunal can be contacted at, there's the phone numbers. The application form can be downloaded on the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario's website. And you see it there, Tribunals Ontario. Just click it for a second just to show people. I've clicked on these links and so that's, go back, because this is, you can see it takes you to the Ontario case, the Ontario forms. All 14 of these links take you to the jurisdiction in question. So go back to UnMask.ca. I want to continue walking through the sample complaint. So we show you the law. We show you the website of the Human Rights Commission or Tribunal. Here's how to file the complaint. And then scroll down. After you fill out the application, go up a little bit, please. You can file it electronically on the Tribunal's website. You can also send your application by mail. And you see here we have the Ontario info. Each of the 14 different jurisdictions gives you the appropriate info. If you require free legal assistance, you can contact the Human Rights Legal Support Center, and we have their phone numbers. And then you see at the bottom, here's a sample form for your reference. Now, it looks like it's not loading there, but I have, I don't know if you've loaded it or if you've accepted the cookies. I have checked these links myself today. And go back and pull up another, maybe it was just that one that's loading slowly. We have filled out a sample complaint on each of these jurisdictions' websites. Yeah, there it goes. So can you click that little thing in the top right that expands it? It's loading slowly. It's, maybe that's the problem here. we have filled out a sample complaint in each of the 14 jurisdictions to show you. I mean, it's pretty easy, but we've done it and we've highlighted it. Yeah, so scroll down a little bit. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll until you see yellow highlighter. Scroll, scroll, scroll. So, okay, so you see John Jared Smith, 1 First Street, apartment 1, you know. So we're just showing you. I mean, again, I don't think most people would need this help, but if you're nervous, if you've never filled out a form, we've shown you in yellow highlighting. You scroll all the way down, keep scrolling, and then, yeah, keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling until we get to more yellow. Yeah, so we're just clicking, oh, yeah, tribunals, name of the organization, a grocery store, like we name it, and then keep going. Goods and services, happened in Toronto. I have asthma, I use an inhaler. This has been a traumatic experience for me. I feel like I was treated differently from others based on my medical condition. So we show you a sample remedy. Human rights legislation prohibits discrimination based on disability. By law, people with an underlying medical condition which inhibits their ability to wear a mask are exempt from the requirement to wear a mask. In addition, exempt individuals are not required to provide proof of the exemption. I am asking you to require X grocery store to comply with the law and educated staff to do the same. The owner and the employees must be ordered to respect my medical exemption and allow me and other exempt individuals to shop at the X grocery store without wearing a mask. Do you agree to a mediation? Yes. Like you just keep scrolling. No, I'm not suing them in another court. No, I haven't complained before about this. So we just show you how to fill out a form. Okay, thanks very much, Justin. So go back to UnMask.ca, and we should, other than just putting that name in the headline, I think that site's good to go. What are we doing here? We are, and scroll down a bit, we are showing you that wherever you are in the country, scroll down until we have the jurisdictions. There we go. Each one of those links there opens up a replica of what we just saw in Ontario, but for these different provinces. And you can see there's a federal one. Maybe we should explain a little bit in that that's for federal works like it. That's where you would go if you were discriminated against on an airplane. That's where you would go if there was, let's say you were in Parliament, like a federally regulated industry would go there, but everyone else would go to their province or territory. On the right-hand side of the page, there's a few other things. You can get help us pay for the lawyer. We had this drafted by lawyers. You can get a mask exemption button. And then we have a fight the fines page if you have a fine. So just click on one. Click on Alberta, for example. That's where I'm from originally. So it's just loading. Alberta complaint. Here's an example complaint. It's the same example in all 14. You can download the complaint form and you can see the Alberta link there. Don't bother clicking on it. After you fill out the form, email it here. Southern office, northern office, here's a sample form for your reference, and I'm guessing it's just loading slowly for you there, Justin. But you can see all 14 pages have the same thing. Here's how to get the form, here's where to email it, here's our sample filling out the form, highlighted in yellow. Some of the provinces have different little quirks, like some of them, they want you to phone them. Okay, so we have the phone number there. So what are we trying to do here? We cannot provide a lawyer to sue hundreds or thousands of stores and other services in Canada who don't respect your mask bylaw. We just don't have the money. There would be thousands of cases. We just can't, we don't have the capacity. But the good news is you don't need to have a lawyer. Human rights commissions are designed for the layman, for a non-lawyer to work through them. It's sort of like that TV show, The People's Court. You don't really need a lawyer. It's designed to be user-friendly. Now, they're not particularly user-friendly, but you don't need a lawyer. They'll actually help you fill out the form. And our website here on UnMask.ca really shows you step by step. Now, I have my own history with human rights commissions. You may know over a dozen years ago, I was the target of a malicious, bogus human rights complaint because I published the Danish cartoons of Mohammed in a magazine called Western Standard. So I know that these human rights complaints don't cost the plaintiff anything. The guy who came at me, he didn't have to pay a dime. The machinery of the government was deployed against me. I obviously didn't settle because that was not a real human rights case, but it took 3 years. And I'm saying to you that what I learned from going through that Human Rights Commission on the defending side is that it is quite something. And I think that if hundreds or thousands of mask-exempt people who are being discriminated against illegally, violating their equality rights based on their disability or medical condition, if hundreds or thousands of such people were to fill out these forms, file them with human rights commissions, then the Costcos and the Royal Banks and everyone who's ever discriminated against you based on your mask exemption, all of a sudden you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 100 legal cases against you. Well, you're going to pay attention. And maybe you're going to say, well, no, we have the right to discriminate against people in a wheelchair. We have the right to discriminate against blind people. We have the right to discriminate against people, who have a medical illness. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see the Costcos, and I'm picking on them because I know they're particularly brutal. The Canadian Tires, I know they're extremely brutal. I think if they get 100 human rights complaints across the whole country, by the way, that's the thing. You got 14 jurisdictions. You got the 10 provinces, the 3 territories, and the feds. The feds wouldn't apply to a Costco or a Canadian Tire, but you have a Costco getting 100 complaints from 13 different human rights commissions. All of a sudden, their legal department's got a bit of work. And they're probably going to say, you know what, guys? We're going to lose. And it's going to be legally and politically and commercially embarrassing to us. Maybe let's stop being so abusive of our disabled or medically exempt customers. Maybe let's stop doing, in my analogy, demanding that people in a wheelchair prove they can't walk. Maybe let's stop being such bitter scolds. So this is my solution. People who say, Ezra, are you going to give us lawyers for mask exemption? No, because you don't need a lawyer. Go to the Human Rights Commission. Get Costco and the others in the process. Make them explain why they are refusing to treat people with medical exemptions as the law requires. You can't sue under the law itself because the law doesn't the mask bylaws don't give you a process for that. The Human Rights Commission does. And unlike a regular court, you don't have to hire a lawyer. So my friends, that's my big announcement today. A website crafted by our legal team. We'll keep tweaking it to make it a little more user-friendly, a little bit clearer. But I think it does the job. Go to UnMask.ca. Choose your province or territory, fill out the form, and fire it off. The forms, I think that you can fill out any of the forms there in probably half an hour or less. Really, the big thing is how long do you take to tell your story? As you can see in the template we went through, it's basically your name, address, phone number, and then tell briefly what happened to you and what do you want. I think that anyone could probably fill that out in half an hour. Our template shows you where and how. The website shows you how to send it in. I really think you've got all you need there. And if you have any questions, you can call the phone numbers there. As I mentioned, different human rights commissions around Canada actually have staff lawyers to help you do it. It's not that way in a real court. You go down to the courthouse in your city and say, hey, can you guys help me sue? They'll laugh at you. They'll say, go hire a lawyer. Human rights commissions say, no, we'll give you a hand. So that's our contribution to mask exemptions. And I look forward to your feedback on it. And that's one of many announcements today.
Oh, hi friends. What you just saw there is a clip from our Rebel News daily live stream show. It's fun, it's fast, and it's completely unscripted, so you never really know what you're going to get. Just go to rebelnews.com/livestream